Good morning, Christian minimalist and permaculture family. Just out this morning about getting started. It's Saturday, and a few things we're going to try to get done today. Doing some work out here in the garden, the in the ground garden spot, uh, and got to do hopefully a short beehive inspection this morning, and then do some work inside the house. This is at where we're at right now. We just had the block foundation put under the house. I think that looks really good. Next step is obviously a good paint job. Uh, but yeah, there's Anna and my grandson Kamir playing with Jack. So that's going on there. But this morning I just wanted to show you what's going on in the garden. Hadn't had a chance. Now this guy right here, and it's hard. This camera kind of bleeds with this green, I noticed. So you can see him right there. This is a second generation bell pepper. For whatever reason, it just has not done as well as some of the rest of them. This is a poblano. You see he's coming along pretty well there. Jalapenos are growing well. Got some small ones. These are really long jalapenos here, oddly enough. But so we got those coming along. You can see banana peppers. They're on the way well. Doing pretty well here. And the bell peppers back here are growing. Got some bells on them. Let's see if I can find one that, yeah, see that right there. Can you see that bell pepper coming in there? Love bell peppers. I use bell peppers a lot. This is not a second generation here. This is a Cherokee purple. Didn't get any of my Cherokee purple seeds last year, so this is a purchase, a plant. It's doing pretty good. Starting this is some from seeds we grew from the cups. Remember the seeds that were in the little greenhouse situation we made? These are they. To be honest with you, I put them out here early. I guess it was early April, and at first they were really slow getting started, and I wondered about how they were going to work, but they're doing really good, and I'll show you. These are just, funny thing is this was a smaller one here. I need to work some of the weeds out from around that, but that's fine. Sometimes when you get a smaller tomato like this, it's not that bad if you got some plant, because what you'll get is rather than getting all the tomatoes at once, you'll get a later staggered crop of tomatoes. So as this guy comes along and kind of comes in behind the tomato, his brother and sister tomato, trying to get this back under that wire without doing a lot of damage there. And what I do here is I'll just take this. That probably went wild on you a little bit. Sorry about that if the camera went everywhere. But yeah, this guy's a little smaller, so he'll come up, and when these guys are giving us ripe tomatoes, they'll have some green ones on. So it kind of staggered. That's fine. You have different sizes, but yeah. So back to the story. Funny thing was we labeled everything seeds in the little greenhouse, sprouted them, wrote it on us, used styrofoam cups as the starters, and made the mistake of marking. That's Jack versus Anna. Should be interesting. But made the mistake of writing on the styrofoam cups with a blue ballpoint ink pen, which oddly enough seems to totally fade with no noticeable trace once the sun hits it. So we had marked everything, but now we don't know. So we have a random collection of red and yellow tomatoes here. Now this is not a red tomato. This is also, well, I should pause here. This is a Roma that was a purchase here. So this is, but most of these, as we're going to show you, are from the seed. So we don't know if these are yellow or red tomatoes. I think we planted about 50% of each, and every one of them came up. So these should be yellow, and these guys are right in the middle here. And I'm telling you, this guy was about this high before the rain last night, and it's grown that much since. I almost feel like it's growing while I'm watching it. It's growing so fast now. Temperatures got right. You need about 90 degrees. They like 80, 90s, and humid. and these guys go absolutely crazy. So yeah, but this, we don't know if we have a yellow tomato, a red tomato. We'll see here, but everything's doing really good. So I'm just showing you tomatoes as we walk through. I need to prune these. I'm starting to need to prune. I'm seeing some wild shoots off the side, for instance. I should have brought my pruners out here, but I'm not going back and get them. But what I'll do is I'll prune this one off. I don't, not that one right there. I don't want that one. I want this one to grow straight up. I don't want these wild branches coming to the side, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't see anything on the vines themselves. I might, if you can see this here on this tomato, I might prune this right here because it's not in the sun, and it's just going to struggle and try to suck in juice right here and energy. I say juice, energy, fluids, sugar. Not going to produce a lot. It's going to take away from the other solid. I would take that off. I would take this here off. I don't know if you see that. I'm trying to line my, there you go. See this right here? It's just underneath the main, what we call sun leaves coming down. So we'll take those off, and that way these leaves are just generating sugar and pouring them into our tomatoes that's come up the middle. So you get better tomatoes, a lot more juicy. And this is something I've been growing tomatoes since I was literally probably 10 years old, and that was just, I just started learning pruning. So you see these, they're coming along nicely. And some mistakes I made is, keep these tomatoes in these systems, however you got it, and keep them from getting wild and dysfunctional. Because what we want to do, and you can see they're coming along really nicely now, what we want to do is we don't just want one harvest of tomatoes. If we prune these correctly and keep these going, then we should have a second harvest of tomatoes from each plant. So you'll have the first fruiting, and then you could get a second fruiting, especially we have a long growing season here. So last year I got a decent first fruiting, but because they had overgrown and kind of went wild, the second fruiting was just not there. It was just, they had just turned to a giant weed by that point. So you're pruning to keep these things focused and growing. You'll get that second route of tomatoes going. And like I said, you see the different sizes, they're different places, so you're going to get some layered harvests. So you're basically, hopefully once, maybe about June, sometime in the June, middle of June, we should start bringing tomatoes in and fruit from the garden. I'll step over here. I'm going to show you something that's going to look a lot like weeds. We haven't mulched around it yet, but if you can see here, it's not weeds, we got okra coming up. As soon as the okra, and it's getting to where it likes to be at. You see it's finally, some of these are starting to put on their adult leaves here. As soon as it gets maybe a bit taller, where I'm not going to bury it with the mulch, we'll do the same thing we did with the rest of the garden, get some mulch. Right now I'm just trying to do weed control. There'll be a row of okra. Check these squash out, and they're on fire. It's like, yeah, time blooms. We have a really nice row of zucchini squash here. I need to get in here and thin out, but you can see the beans and the cucumbers are really taking off here. Right here, and see, this is a garden that is kind of an experimental situation for us. Other people have done this. What I'm doing here, just when you're weeding, you just want to reach around in there and grab a handful, and make sure you're not grabbing a handful of your plant. You want to, and I really, some of this needs to really be done by hand. Try to get these things up by the roots if you can. Shake the dirt off. I see my great grandmother do that. You pick them up, shake that dirt off. You don't want to give that weed the dirt. Throw it back on the ground there. Keep them weeds out, because they are competing with your purposefully planted material there for water, sunlight, so they will hinder so especially when they're earlier on like this. These guys are really in a race to catch that sunlight, get the water. So you want to give the advantage to your plants by getting those weeds out. We see we're going to run the beans on this reclaimed trellis here. Just an old bed frame, metal bed frame. Used the second year. They work really well. It's really light. Looks heavy, but super light. Strings run in between. So I tried it without the string. Beans didn't like it. Cucumbers don't like it. Cucumbers, you can see here, they kind of grew on that one. That's from last year, but they like the vertical strands to run on and not the horizontal. And they like the nylon string way more than they like the metal. So yeah, so I'm going to toss some more onto that. But you see that here. So what we're going to do is try to train the cucumbers. I got a really nice cucumber here that has already grabbed a hold. If you can see, it's already grabbed a hold of that nylon string. Really nice. We're going to train these guys to run the trellis. We're going to let the beans run on the cucumber vine and the strands. Hopefully we'll have cucumbers hanging here. What we tried with cucumbers on the ground, cucumbers will run on the ground, that's fine, but what happens is it's almost impossible to weed around them correctly, and you end up just having a lot of cucumbers lay there and turn yellow and go bad. So we did have a decent cucumber. We really didn't have a great year last year with cucumbers. Where they were at was not good. The temperature didn't work out right. Rain wasn't right. But the idea is you'll have, and people have done this, I've seen this, other people do this is an experiment for us, other people have done it. The cucumbers are just hanging here, you pick them, you see them, and they don't take up all that space on the ground. So you can see the little space I've got here and how it'll run up. A cucumber will take that much space on the ground, and there's nothing growing. The only portion of the roots it has in the ground is what you see there. So this makes a lot more sense. You have to train the cucumbers. They're not naturally, they don't naturally want to climb as well as the beans do. When the beans get a certain point, it's like they just know how to find that wire, and I'll never have to worry about that. They'll go right on up. Cucumbers have to be trained a bit, so that's coming along. You see squash. This is yellow squash, really nice row coming in. You already got, let me show you this. This is cool. Already got some little baby squash growing right there. See that baby squash right there? Some baby yellow squash. Last row here is kind of struggling. There, it's a pumpkin volunteer that we're going to kind of let run. Got some beans planted. We planted so many beans, and down here, like 2 packs of beans. Got 4 or 5 come out. Must have just been a bad run of seeds, old seeds. You got to watch that, guys. You go to plant, and I used to work for a company that I will not call out because they're not the only ones that do this, but they will, when they're done with the growing season, they send those seeds back, and especially the seeds that are kind of low, cheap, are probably maybe a year or 2 old. So you may get some old seeds that just are not going to germinate. It's kind of a gamble. You can buy better seeds, pay more money. There's a way better chance they're going to germinate. You can buy cheaper seeds, but you're going to have to buy more of them because there's a less chance they're going to germinate. So we do have peas here. You can't see them because there's weeds, and I'm going to have to go in there delicately find the peas because they've just now started to sprout on this end. Let me see, here's some right here. I can zoom in on there. See right there? See those? Those are peas. They're not beans, they're peas. So half of this, let's see, we got some more here. Right here, peas are coming up. So this row is supposed to be like a longer version of that. We're going to run runners down it, have peas going up and down, and that's there. So this is the garden here. I do need to get some cleanup going, but everything's going well. It was one part early in the spring that I was kind of like, everything's slow, and it's very wet down here. This is the wettest part of the yard, but after the last 2 weeks without rain, it worked out really well for this spot, and that's the reason I picked this spot for these plants, because over the summer they will benefit from all that excess moisture. So we got 2 more rows that have to be cleaned up forward and back, and they'll look like the middle rows when we're done. That should be hanging with green beans. Oh, let me show you the green beans. Did I show you a picture? We already had green beans growing. See if you see that green bean right there. See those green beans? So eventually we'll have green beans, zucchini squash, yellow squash, okra, peas, tomatoes, and peppers coming from here. I would say pretty much in abundance. So I think I showed you the upper raised beds. We've got a lot of salad greens and stuff coming in there. We've got radishes. I'm gonna walk up there and show you real quick, and that'll be kind of a tour of the garden, the food gardens this morning. Still got a lot of construction work we're working on. It's part of it. My Aunt Rachel used to say you gotta mess up to clean up, so that's part of it too. Beautiful flowers coming along here. Quick walk up the yard here. I'll show you what we got here. some cool stuff. I think this is outside, and we're decorating the outside of our garden with decorative flowers. So you want, I think, a mixture of beauty and food functionality, if you say it like that. Okay, here we got, that was just filler as I walked, all that speech, by the way. All right, so you got squash. These are volunteer squash, and boy, they are like on fire. Look, look how huge they are, how big. Okay, this is beets. Got beets here. Got some eggplant struggling along here. Looks like some kind of bug got into it. We got another shoot, so hopefully they'll come along. If I just get one eggplant fruit, would be awesome. Carrot. That's what I'm talking about, carrots. Got that right there. Radishes are awesome. Look at that, radishes. Okay, so got that. We're finishing up. Valerie just pulled some of the last bit of lettuce, butter lettuce, from the garden to make salads with. Swiss chard's already bitter. We're hoping it'll go bolt to make seeds for next year. Got some baby onions inside, but these guys are about to flower, and we'll get seeds. Look at this. These are, see those little mini onions there? I get the seeds and I'll harvest these guys. They're not really large onions, but they're decent. So you'll see all that. There's the spearmint, thyme. There's rosemary back there. So these are the upper garden. One more thing I'll show you. Just kind of giving you a general tour of what we got going on. My potatoes are, look at those. This is super exciting. This one is a second generation. Grew the potatoes last year. If you know the story, ants would not stay out of the buckets, killed most of them, including this one. Then it resprouted miraculously, so I just let it grow. One little small little vine resprouted, and from that we had about 3 or 4 mini potatoes that we put in the refrigerator, kept over the winter, put them in this bucket, and guess what? We have second generation potatoes. Okay, don't know what variety they are. They were whatever we had. Okay, so now these are volunteer potatoes. The neighbor threw out potatoes and they started sprouting. So I just took them, put them in the bottom of the bucket, did the whole process, and look how gorgeous these guys look. Everything looks absolutely wonderful, and they're having a good growing season. The ants are not attacking them here, so we should literally, I think there's a good chance that you're looking at a small bag of potatoes per bucket is about what the equivalent we should get from these. So maybe about 5 bags of potatoes from here. We'll save some seed potatoes, the same thing. So we start next year. Wow, this is super awesome. And so excited about these. But you can see there's the raised garden from this side. So that's where we're at. Oh, one more thing we'll show you. On the back wall here, we have sunflowers. And after that rain yesterday, these sunflowers are absolutely rolling. They're on fire. Look at that. So by the end of the season, we'll have a really nice wall of sunflowers. I'm sniffling. Allergies. We'll have a really nice wall of sunflowers on the back of this garden spot. So super cool. So that was kind of the tour of the garden. So we're looking at, I want to get, we know, if you follow along, we got about 4 more raised beds we're going to put in this garden. And hopefully what we will do is have cabbage. We're really looking on investing in our fall gardens. So, and over the winter gardens. So we're looking for, again, collards. I think I showed in another video that we have a volunteer collard green. So I'm just going to let it grow and go to seed, so that if I can get to seed, I can plant my own collard greens. They'll be like a second generation collards. But anyway, fall gardens will probably be in the remainder of the 4 beds. I'm thinking what I'll do now, as I've seen how this worked. You got 1 bed there, you got 2 beds there. So we'll have 4 on this side like that, and 3 on that side and 1 more. That gives us 6 beds. And I'm thinking if I rotate these out by season, that I should, this is about 2 months worth of growing here, about a month worth of growing, and then we're eating out of it for about a month. Maybe same thing here. So I'm thinking if I rotate these out, I should be able to rotate seasonally and be eating something from these beds all year long. And rotating that way, when it's dormant, say this guy here, say this, we're using it in the spring, it can lay dormant over its winter season, fall season, I could redo the fertilizer, work the soil again, and then by the time spring comes back around, it's ready to go. Same thing here. This is maybe more summer crops here, and then we would build another bed there and there, and this would be maybe collard greens and spinach and winter and cabbage, and then we'd just be rotating around. And obviously, you have to rotate crops to keep them keep the soil healthy. So anyway, that's the gardens. Thought I'd share that as I was out working around this morning. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you guys, I was finished with this. My dad was in the hospital, open heart surgery. It's one of the reasons we've been kind of disconnected, but he's doing very well, so that's good. We thank God for that. There's so many things going on. I may do another video, a second video, just to show you some of the other things that are happening. But we are so busy right now. It's a good kind of busy, but I wanted to try to get some videos out here to show you guys what's going on. If you guys are like us, same thing, probably super busy. But let's see these pictures and let's talk to each other, because community, I think it's a good part of this whole thing experience. So my little buddy here is trying to break in. He loves to work with Pawpaw. See there? Look at him. He's so cute. He loves to work with Pawpaw. He's got his own little work boots, and he will be a future gardener. So anyway, God bless you guys. Talk to you later.